Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here for the Ravori Sports Podcast. Like and subscribe to all of our social media content because here in this month of July, we've had our highest viewed month. I'm going to say it one more time of social media content. So thank you. Had the best numbers we ever had on Twitter or Facebook. It's been fantastic. We're not even in baseball or football season, and here we are just getting more and more people watching. So thank all of you for doing that here. Genesis Notary Services. For those of you that know, now you know as far as Winchester, so definitely doing that. Expanding our wedding efficient business there as well, so definitely that's on there as well. Field inspection, general notary work, real estate, of course, we're going to continue to do that absolutely as well. And definitely coming up here soon, our Maryland Terps season preview. We're going to talk about the Terps in all of the Big Ten. So definitely check that out as well. And we have a legacy holder here today. A guy holding the legacy of one of the great Baltimore, DC websites in history, Dcrtv. So I want to introduce the Ravori Sports Podcast audience to the new owner of the Dcrtv.com, Dan Lane, who is graciously agreed to come speak with us today. Thank you for
thanks, Charles. Thanks for having me, man. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
I appreciated this. I appreciate everything you're doing. Dcrtv. Just explain it for those that don't know. Dcrtv is the home of, for many years, was the home of Baltimore and radio, television news. So if you want to see who was moving, I would especially read it for people who were moving to different radio stations. There was a lot of movement there, television changes and everything like that, the media news itself. And now it's back. So just explain that for those that don't know.
So it's a really specific niche that Dcrtv is in, that we cover radio and TV in Washington and Baltimore. And, it's like real, like you were saying, real specific stuff. Like if there's a new news anchor or a new reporter or someone gets fired, we're going to cover it. And I think it's the kind of stuff, like a lot of the stories that I cover, they're not covered anywhere else. So if you're a media geek, Dcrtv is for you. That's really our specialty is real local media.
I always was, especially me trying so many years trying to get into the media business. Circle up to sports a little bit. Now, you said you're not much of a sports guy or whatever, but media has a big part in the sports world. Yes, sure. I mean, it's sort of all the money, whatever. Have you been to a Orioles game? You said it's been a while.
It's been a while. I went to an Orioles game. I've been to a few Orioles games, but it's been a long time. It's probably been 20 years since I've been there. I don't know why I haven't gone back. It's fun. Actually, you know what? I take it back. It's probably been 10 years. I was at a skybox the last time I was there. And once you're in one of those skyboxes, they have catered food in there and you have a great view. You have your own little bathroom there. It's hard.
It's not exactly the old Memorial Stadium, is it?
Yeah, right. It's hard to go to a game and sit in the stands after having that first class treatment. But yeah, I do enjoy going to games. I wish I was more of a sports guy. I like sports. I just have a hard time taking the time to sit down and watch a game.
Yeah, baseball is especially, I hear that all the time, people in sports, it's a bit of a grind at times. There's a lot of games and everything.
Yeah.
Real quick, and again, I don't want to spend too much time, but Masson, what's going on? Masson now, the Nats are now free to go off and get their own television deal after this year. The Orioles and Nats were locked in for so many years with that. Masson now, cable television network for years. What's going to happen to Masson, if you don't know specifically about that, but cable television, what's it's going the way of the papers, I think.
It's tough. Yeah, it's a real tough business. Like I think the hardest thing is just the money isn't there anymore. That, years ago there was so much more money in media, and they could pay the teams millions of dollars to carry the games, and the broadcast companies just don't have that money anymore. And so it makes it tougher to invest in the games, and it's really just a financial thing. So
I mean, I watch it, and it's funny you say that, because I was just thinking, I have now, obviously, because I'm a content creator, watching a lot of Oriole games, and I was watching the commercials on Masson, because I haven't had Masson in quite a while, actually, until a little bit of it recently, and they don't even have commercials like that.
Sad.
Like, you used to, I remember watching the Oriole games. It used to have the SK hot dogs and all the fun stuff. And now it's like Science and Kirk, Westmore, and then Dead Air.
I mean, if you had a business, would you advertise there, or would you advertise on Facebook? What's going to give you a better return? And I think social media is, so much money is going there that it just makes it tough for broadcasters to compete.
I think, do they realize that? I kind of when I'm talking to social media people and radio people, and they're kind of all different, though. I don't know if a lot of them realize. I'm talking about not from a business level, but the employee level and all that, the broadcasters and all that. Do they realize, that it's, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they know. I mean, it's obvious that the world is changing. I mean, the internet has changed the world. And, I was looking today, iHeartMedia, which is the biggest radio company in the country, they make 30% of their revenue from digital. So that's off podcasting or selling ads on the website, or they resell Facebook ads. But 30% of their revenue is not coming from their radio stations. I mean, that's a lot of money, and it's growing. It's the digital part of the business is growing, and the broadcast is pretty much dying.
Well, here's the thing about iHeart, and they invest in everything. So I figured they would always be all right. They have radio, but they invest in their online. They invest in their apps. They invest in. This is why they're not dying. So they can afford to have radio, TV, and all that other stuff. They can pay all these radio personalities all this money because they have that other side of the business as well.
They are smart. They are smart about that. That they see the future. I think they are probably better positioned than the other radio companies. They're doing a good job with digital.
CBS isn't even a radio company anymore, right? They sold it, or they still using it?
They sold. CBS was sold to Odyssey. They took over their radio station. So CBS is, but CBS sold their radio. CBS corporate sold their radio stations years ago. So that's not a recent thing. But they
Well, I think it happened to company, but I still am I crazy? Am I still seeing the name right? They're still branding some stuff as CBS. I think
they do CBS News Radio. Maybe even some sports too. But the CBS name is still out there a little bit, but it's not used for their radio stations anymore.
You and I both want to talk about the guy who founded DCRTV, Dave Hughes. Dave was I didn't know him personally, and I think you said the same thing. You never met the guy personally. I watched a lot of his YouTube videos. He had stuff that had nothing to do with media. He was a nomad or living in a van or something. Something along those lines. He wore the same hat and shirt and shorts every time.
White T-shirt and camo pants. Camo short pants.
Every
day.
What did you like about the old DCRTV? What was your favorite thing about the old website when you had it?
It was just incredible. The information that Dave had and like the rumors that he would get, he was just so plugged into the local media scene. I have a DCRTV podcast where I interview people that work or worked in radio or TV. And I did a show with Steve Allen, who was the program director of Oldies 100, which is a really big oldies station back in the 90s. And he said that they would have meetings where it would be, a couple of the executives from the radio company. They'd be talking about stuff. He'd get out of the meeting and check DCR TV, and what they talked about was on the website. And he's like, how did that happen? Like, how did they get up there so quickly? It's
I know they had to be doing that. I didn't have any proof of that, but I know they had to be doing that, because if we're doing that or whatever, because I know that would happen on DCR TV. You see about the format change sometimes, a couple times before it even happened. Hey, Friday they're going to change format at this station.
Yeah,
and I know they had to be like, what? How do y'all? Because they don't. You know how the radio business is. They don't tell you what they're going to do. Yeah, so
it's funny. Like Steve was saying that when they were getting ready to flip to oldies, there was rumors that they might go country or a couple other formats. And Steve left laying around like a demo of jingles, of country radio jingles. He left that sitting around because he knew somebody from the radio station would see it and assume they were going country and report to DCR TV that that's what they were doing to kind of throw people off that they were going oldies. So, it was fun. I think, DCR TV, really their heyday was really in the 90s. And like the site kind of went downhill in the last couple of years that Dave was running it. But yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible site for so long.
I think I heard this said too, and I agree with DCR TV is kind of in that same era of, I'm ripping it off from Mike and the Mad Dog, like, who were New York radio guys for a long time. That was kind of the era of the old newspapers to social media, that era you're talking about, from like the late 90s up until about 2006, 2007, where a site like DCR TV sites were coming up and they were kind of replacing. That was kind of the start of it. And so it was really breaking news all the time with the news on DCR TV all the time. And Dave was on one-man show. Yes, I don't think he had a partner.
It was just him
at all. He just was sitting in his house and would just email all the time. And
I mean, he would have been working on that site around the clock, because like, he would have updates like all the time. Like, I work on it a few hours a day, and like, there's a lot to do in the few hours that I work on it, but Dave was doing this full time. Like, he had a lot more time to devote to it. So, I mean, it was really, really incredible. Like, he really just did a phenomenal job with DCR TV.
And he would I was laughing at a Dave Hughes video one time. He said he was always asking for donations, right?
Yeah.
So he always had donations there. And somebody gave him like a scratch off. So, somebody, like, people would send him a scratch. Hey, thank you for sending this scratch off.
Right.
Here. And like, I actually got $4 from the scratch. Like, that's fans, man. That's people liking your stuff, man. If they're actually sending scratch offs.
Yeah, he was a character. I mean, it was like, I think, like, that's something that I know I could never live up to, the personality that Dave Hughes was. I mean, he was just a one of a kind.
Dave is missing. Dave is a treasure, man.
Yeah,
it was outstanding. I don't think, and I'll say this, I don't think you realize the impact you have sometimes. I don't know if he's not. I hope in some way, not to get too spiritual, but I hope somewhere he's watching this, they could see the impact.
Yeah, and I always try to keep that in the back of my mind, that like, I really want to carry on Dave's legacy, and whenever I do something, I always think, would Dave approve of this? Like, I really want to honor him with the website. So,
yeah, you're talking about radio and TV as well. Cool stuff I've seen as well. Talking about how the signal got knocked over in Warrenton radio station.
Oh my God!
Yeah, they got completely knocked over. Sale of a radio station like 3.1 million in Hagerstown. I think that Hagerstown? Yeah. So it was. The value of these stations is so high. What do you think the future of radio is? I think it still has a future, but I think like it has to be, you have to have the iron model, or it's mixed in with other things.
Yeah, I think radio is at a crossroads right now where people have so many more choices of what they can listen to with podcasts and Spotify and streaming. It just I think radio, if they invest in good programming, I think they're going to be okay. But I think that if they just become a jukebox, it's like, why would someone listen? Like, if there's not good personalities and not good production, like there's so much that goes into making a radio station sound good. And I feel like a lot of stations have just kind of given up. But what's great is when you look at the top stations in DC, WTOP, WAMU, WHUR, like those are all stations that are doing a lot of local programming. And I think they're going to be fine. But yeah, it's all about being local and investing in making a good station.
It's funny. I hear executives and people like you make two different comments there. Like executives always say, radio executives and people in media say, play the hits, right? You want to play the top 45. And I think the one thing you have in local media is the locality, right?
Right.
Only you know what's going on in Washington, D.C. Only you know in Baltimore what's going on. I think there's still a lot of value in that. But it seems like they're trying to get away from that. I see that when I see the Masson and a couple other stations as well. What is you mentioned stages that are good. What are your favorite ones? I guess you could say all time, but right now, who's really was one you think, hey man, they're actually doing good things?
Yeah, I think WTOP is probably what I listen to the most. They do a really good job. They're just so consistent with their clock, doing traffic and weather on the 8s and the news at the top of the hour and their money news and the sports. Like everything is at a set time, and they do a really, really good job. So I think WTOP is definitely what I listen to the most.
Dave was always considered like TOP, similar to the one that Dave was always so complimentary of, WBAL. Me being the Baltimore guy, just well run, well formatted. Hosts are really smart. In general, why are we getting so much? I think have they given up on radio? Have a lot of these companies? It seems like they're not really working hard in radio. What do you think happens to a lot of radio personalities as far as employment goes?
Like a lot of them are, a lot of them are gone. Like, the stations have cut back. It seems like at iHeart, like all of the stations have maybe 2 live personalities that are local, and then the rest of it is voice tracked either by people that work at other stations in the market or people from outside the market. So I think it's tough. Like there's there's a lot of pressure on the personalities, but like the old days of having a fully staffed live and local radio station 24 hours a day, I think those days are over. Like I don't see how that ever comes back. It's just too expensive. They just don't have the money to do that anymore. So
it's funny. I'm sorry, go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, things change and technology changes too, where, like back in the 90s, they didn't have the technology to run the station without someone being there. And now they do. Like, computers run everything. So it's just a different world we're in today.
I was watching an episode, old episodes popped up on my YouTube feed. I don't know. Maybe it was a precursor to me calling or reaching out to you, was WKRP, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you watched the 70s, like, when I was a little kid, I used to watch WKRP, and that was what you're talking about, the old radio station. That's not a real radio station, obviously. But, the DJ in the morning and the nighttime and all of that stuff, and the staff. And I think that's just the workforce in general. What's going on?
I mean, it was fun. I worked in radio back in the 90s, and I mean, radio stations were just such a fun place to be. There were so many characters that were working at the station. It was just there was just so much synergy and so much fun. And I don't get the impression that it's like that anymore at radio stations.
Yes, with somebody here, podcast group I'm in, Driving the Top Productions. He actually works in radio. He lives in a whole different state than the one he's working. He's actually never even been to, I don't think, or if he has been to there, he's all the way, literally all the way across the country.
Yeah.
With that. TV. We're seeing now, I think, chinks in television for the first time, in my opinion, really. We were cable TV not doing what it was. Even linear TV now, you're starting to see things like that. I think the worst news is the local TV I'm hearing, and sometimes they're having the same issue. What is I think local news is huge, still so important for the community and everything like that. So what do you think the future of local news? I saw it on your site too, Rob Roblin. Somebody was there for so many years, passed away. I watched, always watched Rob. He was one of the snow guys.
Was great.
Rob Roblin. What's your future of local news, you think, or what's going on?
I don't know. I mean, local news, I think, is still the moneymaker. I mean, that's where the stations are making the biggest chunk of their money. So I think as long as there's advertisers willing to pay, I think local news will be around. But it's just, how long, it's like so many people aren't watching TV the same way that they were. A lot of people are streaming, and they maybe don't even have access to local programming anymore. So I don't know. I feel like, at some point, like people younger than us, like people in their 20s, I don't think they watch local news. So,
absolutely. I have daughters, and she didn't even know what the stations were. She's 18. Like, she doesn't even know. Like, me and my wife were saying it's NBC. She's like, what's NBC? Like, she didn't know she knew what the Peacock streaming was. Right. She didn't know. She doesn't know the channel.
I think that's their biggest danger, is that they need to get younger viewers and get them watching the local broadcast. Or what's going to happen is the people that are watching now are going to get older, and once you're over 54, advertisers aren't interested in you anymore. So like as people get older, if they can't sell it, I think they could be in trouble long term. But for the next 5 years, I think they're going to be fine. But 20 years, I don't know.
Social media, probably what we're doing right now, the biggest part of my business and what we're doing, social media, Twitter, Facebook, and all that other stuff. It's interesting how much money is actually being made in social media. I think that's people keep thinking that this is just, but I don't talk to a lot of people. Maybe just that not in my sense that actually make a lot of money doing social media. Some big time YouTubers, obviously, some YouTube. But like, how many people are really breaking it? Really hitting it open in social media?
I mean, I don't know, but I think I think that if you really work hard and build a following on social media, I think you can make a living. I mean, you maybe not, making, like, you see some of these guys making, $100,000 a month. I think that universe is pretty small, but like people that are making like $3,000 to 5,000 or 6,000 a month, I think you'd be surprised how many people are making a few $1,000s a month on social media. Like I think it's really, if you can come up with good content, I don't think it's really that hard.
Let's talk about the new Dcrtv.
Yeah.
So you brought it back here. It looks like the old one. I think you did a good job there, where it looks enough like the old one, where you recognize it, but it's changed a little.
Yeah.
What do you want? As much as we both love Dave Hughes and all that, what do you want people to know about the new version of the Dcrtv? What's different than what it was before?
When I first brought it back, I was afraid that there wouldn't be as much news, just because there's fewer people working at TV and radio stations today than there were back in the day. So I was really afraid there wouldn't be enough news. So I thought, well, I need to create content in other ways. And so I started the Dcrtv podcast. We have air checks from different radio stations. We have jingles from different radio stations. So I'm doing a lot of that content, but surprisingly, there's been a good amount of news. Like I generally have a story or two every day. So I mean, as many stories as I can find out about, I'll cover. But I really think the podcast is very cool. Like just hearing what, like, some of the behind the scenes stories of what's happening. I mean, I've been fascinated by all the ones that I've done so far.
Watching pro wrestling as long as I have, always watched WWE. They always say in WWE, it's more interesting what goes on behind the curtain as it is in all the program that you're actually seeing live.
Right.
So what's the weirdest, maybe that's not the right question, but what's the behind the curtain thing that you've heard that surprised you? That would surprise the audience, that would surprise people.
That's a really good question. I'll tell you one that comes to mind is Leon Harris, who was a huge broadcaster. I'm sure you know Leon. He worked at Channel 7 and Channel 4, and I mean, he was in this market for a long time, but unfortunately, he had an alcohol problem. And he was drunk on the air, and they took him off the air mid-newscast. And he actually came out, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, and told the story of what happened. And I think that was just fascinating and very very kind of cool that he would take us behind the scenes and tell us about his problems and what he was struggling with, and how it just kind of got away from him, and he ended up drinking before the newscast, and he told the story about how he got fired, and that's I mean, I have a lot of respect for Leon. I think he's a great broadcaster, and I think just talking about what he's been through in a very open way, I think I really admire that.
I did. Wow. Yeah. That's he's there a long time too, right? 30 years. I mean, he's one of the staples of DCTV.
Yeah.
Radio, for a long time.
Real long time. Yeah.
Also, same, like, not to pick on, but Keith Mills kind of it could be a good example for him. A guy who had a lot of drug problems and lost his job and all that. And Keith was able to bounce back, get himself. So we're hoping for that, right? I mean,
hopefully they give Leon, I really hope they give him another chance. I mean, I really enjoyed watching him.
Yeah. So. You're doing the new Dcrtv as well as like it. So what is going on in the future here? It's changed. I know one thing I can see different. You're using we just talked about the social media. I saw you on Twitter. I've seen you on different platforms. So that's changed. So what do you think is ahead for DCRTV in terms of things you want to do?
It's interesting. One thing that I noticed is that Dave didn't really embrace social media. I think social media hurt DCRTV because people weren't coming to his website. They were on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And I think it really hurt his traffic. For me, I look at social media as a great way to promote the site, so I post everything we do on Facebook and Twitter. I guess, for me, starting from nothing, it's, where I had to build DCRTV up, from scratch when I got it going. So I guess I look at it as a benefit, where I think Dave looked at more of it as competition, but I don't know. I don't see it that way.
I don't know if you even know the answer to this question, but did he have any family that left it to? I mean, how are you able to acquire the name and all that other stuff? I mean, I'm sure there's legalities with that. I mean, especially with a man that's passed away. What can you say? Can you say anything about that?
Oh, yeah. I'll talk about this. Yeah. So Dave does have a sister, and the Washingtonian wrote a little article about DCRTV when I started, and I don't think she was very happy that it was back. But what happened is the domain name dcrtv.com expired. Dave had it for a couple of years, or for a long time, and then it expired, and I saw that it was getting ready to expire, and I was thinking, I really hope that somebody buys the name and brings DCRTV back. And I was just afraid that somebody would buy it and not do anything with it, or, maybe not put a lot of effort into it and not make it good. And so I thought, well, maybe when this expires, I should just buy it and bring it back. And I really didn't want to, but I just felt like this was such a cool thing that Dave had. It would be a lot of fun to bring it back. So that's why I did it. I just thought it would be a fun thing to do. And maybe at some point I'll probably pass it off to somebody else. But for now, I think I think DCRTV is just a really great resource for the community here.
Yeah, I absolutely was excited when I saw it too. It was like all this new stuff, because for the longest time I looked at it, and I think I told you this before. All the time I looked at it, it's like all this old mailbag, and there's a new site there. I saw.
Yeah. So, that's I've heard from so many people that just randomly typed in DCRTV to see what was going on, and they were surprised that it's back.
So. What do you tell us about you a little bit? So as far as that, what's you involved in this? What training do you have that you can reveal on camera? I don't like some people don't like to say they have jobs and all that.
Oh, I'm an open book. I've got nothing to hide. But I worked in radio when I was younger. When I was 11, I had a TV show on a cable station. And I did that for, I don't know, maybe about a year and a half. And then I got a job at a radio station when I was 13. And I worked in radio from 13 until probably my mid-20s. And then the business was changing, and I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. So I got out of radio, and I was a realtor, and I wanted to learn about rental properties. And I started a podcast called the Rental Income Podcast, where I was interviewing people that owned rental properties. And I started taking the information I was learning from my show, started buying rental properties. So now today, for the last 10 years, I've done the Rental Income Podcast, and I buy rental properties. So that's my main job. Like that's what I'm doing most of the day. And then DCR TV is kind of a side thing.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, well, you're doing real estate, so it's a thing where you have some time some days, right? Like some days some days you're extremely busy, and then some days you're not. It's not.
Yeah, that's exactly how I do it. I fit it in when I can. The Rental Income Podcast takes a lot of time, and so when I'm not working on that, like I'll work on DCR TV, but I always fit in a couple hours a day to work on it.
As far as that goes, DCR TV is going forward. You have a podcast. Tell the people about that out there.
Yeah, so the DCR TV podcast is, I think it's one of the most interesting things ever. We interview people that have worked in Baltimore and radio, Baltimore and Washington radio and TV. We had Lou Katz on the show, and Lou is just a legend in DC radio. He worked at Wash FM for a long time. He's worked at basically every station. And, Lou told us, a lot of great behind the scenes stories. We had Fred Manning on the latest episode, and Fred is, he owns a couple of radio stations up in Frederick and Hagerstown. And he was telling us about hiring Jack Diamond, who did mornings in Washington for years. And that was really cool. A lot of behind the scenes stuff. And I have an interview with Scott Woodside, who was part of Elliott and Woodside, and they were a big morning show back in the 70s and 80s in Washington. And he's coming up next month. So, so it's been a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy doing the DCR TV podcast.
What do they think of DCR TV? What do people? I'm kind of curious to see in the podcast. So, like, what do radio people? I kind of suspect some. Well, I'm sure a lot of them would know what it is, but what did they think of the DCR TV and the legacy people who actually worked in media, who actually worked in the media space?
I have only heard positive stuff. I haven't heard anything negative. Everyone that I've talked to is like so happy that it's back. That they looked at it as a great resource, and I haven't heard anything negative. And I think, just with the nature of DCR TV being such a niche website about local radio and TV, that 99% of the world does not care at all about what we cover. But the people that really are interested in radio and TV, I think they love it. So it's it's really a special thing.
I think it's more than 99%. I think some things are. I'll phrase it this way. Some things are like, use a TV example. Some things are the Cosby Show, where they have huge numbers and everybody knows who it is, and then there's like a show like WKRP. People really like it, more popular than what you think it is. You
right.
think it's 1%.
Yeah.
It's really like 14 to 15%.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. One more thing I want to ask you here, Dan. You mentioned carrying the legacy of DCR TV and passing it on someday. What are things that you like out there on radio TV? Any people that you would recommend, like a young person that you like, or anything? You and I are you look about my age. I'm over 40 here, but somebody younger that would that really piques your interest, or anybody in the space now that maybe people aren't as aware of.
Like a young up and coming person?
Yeah, like a young up and coming person, or somebody maybe not even super young, but somebody maybe like that's a bit unsung. Somebody maybe that people don't realize.
Oh boy, that's tough. I don't know. I don't see a lot of young people getting in the business anymore. I really, like, no one's coming to mind. If someone is a young person and they have a good stage presence, honestly, like they're probably better off like making YouTube videos or, TikTok or something. I think they're going to make a lot more money and have a lot more freedom doing that. But yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I wish there was more young people getting into the business, but I really don't know of anybody.
I can tell you, like, for me, I kind of see it as different too. One of the names I considered in Ravori Sports, one of the names I considered is failed media person, right? Because I failed media because I tried to go in through the traditional route. Like when I was younger, I tried to get a job at a newspaper, radio station, television station, etc. And so now I'm like, I feel like, okay, well now I'm on a YouTube, right? I can do it.
Right.
But young people see it just the opposite, right? They see it as those TV guys over there. Yeah. What are they? What is that? The YouTubers is the thing that's going on now. So I would like to see it continue. I think it is. I do think it's more of a future than what people think, but I think newspapers are still around.
Yeah.
Television is still around. Cable, I think, is the issue of it's starting to just not be good because they're taking so much money out of it. You're not producing new content that people like. All day long, my wife watches like SVU and all that other.
Right.
There's got to be something else on, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like the problem is that when you're not producing good shows, your viewership goes down and then you're getting less ad revenue. And then you don't have the money to invest into making good shows. So the quality goes down again. And it's a really bad downward spiral. And I really hope that like somebody in local media realizes this and will invest into making the station better, because if you look at WTOP, they are the highest billing radio station in the whole country. And there's markets like New York and LA and Chicago that are much bigger than DC, and WTOP is making a fortune, and it's because they have a lot of really good people working there. So I hope other radio companies see that and try to get some of the action, because like there are ad dollars out there and there are listeners and viewers. So I hope they can grab some of it.
Yeah, and the scenario you mentioned is kind of the same thing with papers. You don't have money, so you fire all the good writers. Well, the people who were watching who are still there like it less in general.
Right.
In general. So
yeah.
Dan, I want to thank you for taking time. It was you really seem like a good guy here. So again, tell people where they can find Dcrtv and even your other podcast if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, Dcrtv.com. The Dcrtv podcast is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, any podcast platform, or you can go to Dcrtv.com and there's a link to listen to it there. But check out the site, and I put out a newsletter every day at about 5:00 with a summary of whatever news we had that day. So check it out, Dcrtv.com.
All right. Thank you, sir. And thank you all you Raven fans, Oriole fans for checking out. Absolutely check out like I did and have all the time. Dcrtv.com for if you want to see all the media news that's going on. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us for the Ravori Sports Podcast. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.